to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Means our show presented by the good folks at Rouse's. Fired up to be here for the next 2 hours. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Got our Thursday staples. Luke Johnson coming up in 15 minutes. Of course, the black and gold in action tonight on Thursday Night Football against the Jaguars. Well, what's left of their offensive line will be out there. And we'll see who plays quarterback for Jacksonville. But Luke will be with us at 1:15. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll hear from the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, at 2:15. He's got the Brian Kelly Show, which incidentally tonight will be broadcast on 100.7 The Tiger because the Saints will be on Eagle 98.1. So if you love hearing Coach Kelly and Chris Blair chop it up on Thursdays, just be aware it's at on 100.7 The Tiger this evening. Got to get my pick for Saints Jags. We'll do that a little bit later. Best win and worst loss on the board in college football and the NFL. All that is coming at you over the next 2 hours. So thanks to the good folks at Rouse's, and thank you for hanging out with us. Of course, LSU and Army Saturday night in Death Valley. Saturday night in Death Valley is good. Tailgating should be great. Weather should be awesome. It's an opportunity to get in there and watch LSU play football, and those are generally fun. I certainly enjoy it. Of course, I was someone who enjoyed going to watch the basketball team after they had lost 14 straight conference games last year. I just enjoy watching LSU play sports. So I am excited to go inside Tiger Stadium for another Saturday night in Death Valley on Saturday night. But I can't hide from the fact that yesterday I told you that this is a game that you can look past. This is a game that LSU is going to win comfortably. And I still believe all of that. There's a reason we haven't really talked about this game until Thursday. I feel like it's Thursday. Might as well get into a little bit of the football side of what this game looks like on Saturday night, and at least give you some reasons why I think that this is not going to be a very competitive football game. Army is 2-4. They beat Delaware State, and they beat Texas San Antonio. They lost 17-13 to ULM. They lost 29-16 to Syracuse. They lost by 3 to Boston College in a 27-24 game. And last week, they got shut out by Troy. But Jeff Monken, their head coach, has done a remarkable job at Army. He's been there for 9+ years. This is his 10th year. The 3 years before Jeff Monken got to Army, the Black Knights were 8-28 overall. And in his first 2 years, they were 6-18 while he was trying to get his system implemented and get that program off the ground. So if you take that 5-year sample, the 3 years before he got there and the 2 years were his first 2 years, you're talking about a 14-46 football team. 14-46. Since then, 60-35. That's really, really strong coaching by Jeff Monken. If you just go to their most important game and the only game you watch Army play all year, Army-Navy, Navy won 14 in a row from 2002 to 2015. Since then, Army's won 5 of 7. They've been the better program. So Jeff Monken's done an awesome job. Now, at this point, if you listen to our station and you've heard some of the guys talking about this game over the last 4 days, you realize that Army no longer runs the triple option. Why? Because they changed the rules, and you can't block below the waist outside the line of scrimmage, and so you can't cut block, and you just can't do what the service academies have done forever, it seems like. So they've had to change things up a little bit. They still have some of those principles, but it looks different. And on the teleconference yesterday, Brian Kelly spoke to what it's like when you've got to deal, and he did this a lot at Notre Dame because they play Navy all the time, when you've got to deal with these option offenses.
Playing against the option offense when you're on defense is a bit of it's organized chaos. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you're doing things that you don't normally see. There's a lot of option principles, but our guys are locked in. They're focused. They understand that what's most important right now is preparing for an Army team that's going to come at you for 4 quarters. So day one in the banks, we go to today, this afternoon, and we hope to work towards being even better.
So none of this will surprise you. Even before I told you that Army doesn't run the triple option anymore, none of these stats will sound out of whack. There's 133 teams in D1. Army's 126th in passing offense. There's only 7 teams worse. They're 131st in pass attempts per game. Only 2 teams throw it fewer times. They're 24th in the country in rushing. As you would imagine, you run it almost every play, you're going to be in the top 25 in rushing. They're number 3 in rush attempts per game. That makes a ton of sense. Only 2 teams run it more than them. They're 12th in the country in time of possession because they're running the football. They're not going no huddle. This is not Tennessee's rushing attack where they're going as fast as possible. This is just a team that's going to run the ball, probably get in a huddle, and then run it again. They're 10th in the country in fourth down tries. They will go for it on fourth down. That's a staple of a lot of triple option teams. They know that they're not going to get chunk plays. They know that they're going 3 yards at a time, and sometimes that's going to put you in 4th and 1, and you figure you can get a yard. So they do that a lot. And this will come as no surprise. They are the 4th least penalized team in college football. I'm thrilled as an American citizen that the guys who are training to become members of the armed forces are pretty disciplined. They don't commit a lot of penalties. So that's all that makes sense in a triple option. However, it's not. They're going to be in the shotgun a lot. They do this read option that will look very much like a read option at the beginning, but then it turns into almost that fullback dive that the triple option had. The quarterback holds the ball with the running back like almost all the way to the line of scrimmage. And then sometimes he takes it and sometimes he gives it. It looks very fullback divey. And then they'll run, you know how when they do the triple option, you have the wing backs on the outside, and one of the wings would loop around the back of the up back and the quarterback, and that would be the direction they run the option. They'll run some jet motion into that as well. But a lot of it's out of the shotgun. There's a little bit more spacing involved. It's not everybody getting in a 4-point stance and diving forward. It looks more like a modern college football offense, but it's got very much the principles of a triple option. And yesterday, Omar Spates met with the media and kind of talked about what it was like to deal with an option offense.
They still kind of run the triple option just in like a different, they not under center no more. They kind of do it from shotgun sometimes. But it's just all about, preparing the same way, but having great eyes, great technique, just being more physical than them.
I think a lot of times I would consider playing a triple option offense a total waste of a week on defense because you would prepare for things that you would never see again. So playing Paul Johnson's Georgia Tech team or scheduling Army or Navy in the non-conference just sounded like a terrible idea to me. Obviously, you saw what Georgia Southern did in the swamp against Florida. This week, I don't feel like that for this LSU defense. It's good for them to have a week where you're preparing solely on your keys and you understand that it's discipline and it's not being scared of the athleticism on the other side. It's just like, hey, if you're in the right spot, things will be okay. And I think for the most part, that's right with this LSU defense. They just need to be in the right spot. And that's what you're going to have to do. Bryson Daly is the quarterback for Army. And he's been decent. He throws for about 120 yards per game. He leads the team in rushing, all things that you would expect from an offense. He's not a super athlete, but he's decent. He got hurt last week, okay? And I don't know what the status of him is for this coming week against LSU, but when he got hurt, they had to go to their freshman Champ Harris against Troy, and that was not pretty. He was 6 of 13 for 63 yards. He threw an interception, and here's the kicker. He ran it 9 times for negative 17 yards. So I don't know if there was some sort of fumble where he lost 20 yards. I don't know what the situation was, but it wasn't like he came in and ran all over the place either. He backed up on the run. If he has to play, a team that didn't score against Troy is not going to score much against LSU either. But this is far less about Army and what they've done and what they look like and what their personnel is and what their time of possession. It's about LSU's defense showing up, understanding you're the better athlete, you're the bigger, more physical player. You just need to be in the right spot. You have an assignment for every play. You understand that most of them are going to be runs, but you've got to be disciplined in the secondary on pass plays and make sure they don't hit you over the top when you fall asleep. And I think all of that's a pretty good message. And it's not like you've got to work all week on getting off cut blocks. It's not like you've got to worry about crazy ball handling that, can be pretty deceptive in a triple option. It looks more traditional than it ever has and when I say traditional, it's crazy because the triple option is traditional. They were running the triple option in the wishbone decades ago, and this read option thing is brand new. So that's clearly an incorrect usage of a word to me. But now it feels traditional because everybody's running that same thing. That's what I'm getting at. You're preparing for something that is not foreign to what you'll see. You're going to see Jalen Milroe get back there and do some ball handling and some read option and running and making short throws. That's a lot of what Army does. You're going to see Graham Mertz do some of that as well. Not as much with Texas A&M. Max is not quite that kind of player, but it's not a throwaway week, which is, I think, the best thing I can say about this week for LSU. They're going to paint the end zones, and it's going to be the Army, and the cadets will be there, and the band will be there, and all that's cool for the spectator. For us, that's fine. As far as this football team goes, it still has every goal that it wants to accomplish out in front of it. This is not a throwaway week. It's a discipline week. It's a focus week. It's an eyes week, and for this defense, it should be a week where they can make a lot of plays, hold their opponent to very few points, and build confidence going into the bye week. I told you last week that the Auburn game would shape how we talk about LSU Alabama. If Auburn had come into Tiger Stadium and thrown up 41 points when they hadn't done anything on offense all year, and even if LSU won a shootout, you go, LSU has no chance with this defense playing the way it did in Oxford and the way it did in Missouri and the way it did against Auburn in this hypothetical where Auburn chopped them up. If they can't even, there's no way they'll stop Alabama. If they show a life against Auburn and they slow down a terrible offense and their offense continues to hum, you'll think, okay, maybe they can go over there and outscore them. And that's what happened, and that's kind of what we're talking about. I don't think this one's going to shift the way that we talk about the game. I do think it can shift the way that the players feel. You come off a game where you hold Auburn to 18, and then you show up, do your job, and hold Army to 14 points, to 10 points, to 7 points, to 3 points. All of a sudden, they start to feel a little bit better about themselves going into the bye week. That's kind of the way I look at it. Again, it's not a day where I need to go down Auburn's and Army's entire receiving core. I need to go over their offensive coordinator's history. It's a game where you say, hey, this is what it is. It's a non-conference game. We're stepping out. LSU's a 1,000,000-point favorite. And I think that there's some value in it for the players and some very different value in it for the fans, and then you get into the bye week. That's what this week's going to be about. But you won't see the triple option coming up on Saturday night. It'll look a little different than that. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. And guess what? The Saints play tonight. So why don't we go to the Jim's Firearms Hotline, chat with our guy, Luke Johnson, about the black and gold coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's electric. Don't want to be watching the Saints and then realize, power went out. Can't watch. That's a bummer. Boudreaux's electric can prepare you for that. They can prevent that from happening because you have that Generac generator at your home and the power fails, it's going to kick right on. And you'll have a customized Generac generator if you work with Boudreaux, so they'll make sure that whatever your needs are when the power goes out, they have that covered, nothing more and nothing less. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have operated Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They've got some new technology, but they still operate like the old school business that they are. Call the same number they've had for 40 years and get that Generac generator put in at your home. It's 985-397-1562. Boudreaux's Electric, that number one more time, 985-397-1562.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, Our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60?
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Army head coach Jeff Monken joins us, and at Saints Game Day, we'll preview Saints and Jags. Join us for Thursday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All of us, just being a little bit more consistent in what we're doing. I think that's certainly something that we all, have to be a little bit better at. And I think, we'll get a lot better results when we get a little bit more consistent.
Saints and Jags tonight from inside the Caesars Superdome. It's a game day. I love Thursday night baseball games for LSU. It feels like it shortens the week. I love Thursday night football tonight with the Saints. It feels like it's kind of shorten the week a little bit, feeling like a game day, and then we know Friday vibes are very good. It's game day for another guy here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke Johnson covers the Saints for The Advocate. He joins us now. Luke, how are the vibes in the city today on a game day?
Terrible. At least it's nice outside, it's just it's bad down here, man. I think people are really disappointed, really, really frustrated, and I honestly don't have a lot of hope about what's still yet to come for this season. It's pretty bad. They got some time to turn it around, but not that much time.
Look, I'm with you, and I don't have any emotional attachment to the Saints, so I'm just basing this on what I see, not what I feel on Sundays. I was at a watch party on Sunday, and everybody was really super bummed out. Is that permeating through the roster and maybe the front office? Are y'all getting into that in interview sessions, or is that just us that are watching the Saints and doing it from the outside?
Well, I think they're frustrated, but I don't think they're at all at the stage yet where they think the sky's falling. But you can clearly sense that this team is just kind of at a loss for how this has happened. This is really 2 straight years, 2.5 if you want to count the back end of the 2021 season after Jameis Winston got hurt, where it seems like every week they go out there and they're in a competitive game because their defense is playing so well, but it just doesn't really matter because they can't score points. That frustration's been building up, man. And I think you've seen some instances where the body language for the Saints hasn't been great. You've heard guys in the locker room calling teammates out, not publicly, not by name, but saying we need to get our stuff together. We need to get on the same page. We need to have everybody kind of preparing the way they're supposed to prepare. And you can't blame them because the results haven't been there.
The last 2 drives just really puzzled me last week with the check down to Kamara and then the jump balls at the end What was your sense in watching it live, talking to some players, and I'm sure going back and rewatching it as to what you saw?
Well, the check down on fourth down, I mean, first of all, that play would never have had to be run if they would have just made a 29-yard field goal earlier in the game, right? Then they'd be kicking a field goal to cut it to, a point at that point. So, and the defense was playing well enough in the second half, that's probably what they would have done. But on that play in particular, it was really a two-man route, and Mike Thomas was running a little stick right at the yard marker, and they were reading the linebacker. So linebacker drops, getting in the way of the Michael Thomas route, and Alvin, I just don't think, got out on his route fast enough. So when Derek Carr saw the coverage on Michael Thomas, he threw it to Alvin Kamara in the flat, and the linebacker still able to make a play. He got out there, and then there was two guys to beat with 5 yards to go. I mean, it just didn't work out. You could make a case that maybe they need to have other options on that play and not have it be a two-man route. But I think if you're relying on Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, you're feeling pretty good about it. Obviously, it just didn't work out. And I think there's real frustration from the fan base seeing that and saying, like, why are you throwing 5 yards short of the sticks on 4th and 4? Like, I get that, but I think that particular play just the defensive look did not really align well for success on that play. And on the last drive, look, I mean, they get all the way down the field. I think Derek Carr completes 6 of his first 8 passes. They're doing some good things with like this rhythm passing game where they got their 2 starting tackles are out, and you're like, okay, they've got something working here. And all of a sudden they get to the 24-yard line and they just run 4 verts on 4 straight plays. And that's where you're just like, what is going on? Where's the middle of the field? Why are we just watching these guys just kind of chuck up 50-50 balls with the game on the line like this? It was really confounding, and we haven't really gotten a good answer as to why that happened.
I couldn't believe what I was watching when I saw that. All right, so let's move forward to Saints and Jags in this one tonight. We know no Ryan Ramczyk and no Hurst tonight, so your tackles are compromised. The report is that Trevor Penning will not start either. So what can you tell us about what's left of this offensive line?
Well, you've got one guy who has barely played this year because of injury, Andres Pete, who they're planning on starting at left tackle for his first start there in 5 years. And then on the right side, they've got a guy who was they signed off the street 2 weeks ago, who hasn't started a game in 2 years at their right tackle, and they're going up against the Jags pass rush that features Josh Allen, who has a pair of 3 sack games to his credit already this year. Hunt, I'm not feeling good about it. So yeah, look, they're just in a really bad spot on this offensive line, and like this is something we talked about throughout training camp. Is like their first team offensive line, you can see how it would be okay, right? And we didn't see a whole lot of them in game action, but you felt pretty good. Like Ryan Ramczyk's a good player. Cesar Ruiz is coming off a pretty solid season. Eric McCoy's been pretty good. You can count on James Hurst at left guard, and who knows what's going to happen with Trevor Penning. That's a big question mark. But the backup offensive line was terrible throughout training camp, throughout the preseason. You're like, man, 1 or 2 injuries, they could really be screwed there. And now they've got 2 injuries, and the Penning thing did not pan out at all. So now they're starting Max Garcia, who is not with the team in training camp. They're starting Cam Irving, who is not with the team in training camp. And they're starting Andres Pete at left tackle, who, again, the last game of 2018 was the last time he played that position. So, I mean, it's just I really, I don't know how they're going to get it done tonight. Like, you've seen teams scheme around offensive line injuries this year. I just, what gives you confidence in this Saints offense to do that after watching them through 6 games? There's no confidence on my end. I just say I can't see how this is going to be successful tonight.
And with Penning, I know what it says right now. It says you're not good enough to play, and we got to go find guys who aren't even in football right now to go play. And that's one message. What does it say about the next 2 months? What does it say about next fall?
I mean, I'm having a hard time seeing how he's going to stick a tackle.
Yeah.
Right. I think the Saints took a big swing on somebody with a lot of traits you really like. He's a good athlete. It just has not worked out. And maybe they are talking themselves into hey, let's just reset on this. Let's let them sit back and watch. But how does this not kill his confidence at whatever shreds of it are remaining, where you're starting Cam Irving at right tackle and Max Garcia at left guard instead of putting Trevor Penning in when your two other offensive tackles are out? This has to just be brutal for him. And for the Saints, I don't know how you come back from this and be like, yeah, he's going to be our left tackle of the future. We invested a first-round draft pick in him. We made these trades to make sure we could go get him. How does this guy not now profile as a left guard and you're back in the tackle market next year? I don't see how that's even possible.
Luke Johnson's our guest, covers the Saints for The Advocate. He'll be in the Dome tonight for Saints and Jags on Thursday Night Football. There's some questions around Trevor Lawrence. Adam Schefter expects him to go after a workout today. That's either he or C.J. Beathard. But do you feel like the Saints, as they have generally week in and week out, have a chance against this Jags offense to make it a really ugly game around 13, 14 points and keep them in it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm expecting, right? A really ugly football game tonight. Because, look, I think Trevor Lawrence is easily the best quarterback that was on their schedule this year.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything that's happened has changed that, even though he's not had this, great start to the season. And the thing that would make him even more difficult for the Saints than a normal quarterback is that I think he's a great athlete. He's really mobile in the pocket. And if that's not part of his game tonight, I think that really obviously plays in the Saints' favor. You trust their back end against this Jags receiving core, even though they've got some pretty good weapons there. And you can see a scenario where they kind of get after Trevor Lawrence and this Jaguars offensive line, which hasn't really played great football this year either. So, yeah, I'm 100% fully expecting a gross game tonight, which the Saints are probably for, right? They're okay, well, maybe we have a chance to win this if we could actually score some points. But this is just the story we've been talking about for the last 2 years now. It's just every game feels like these razor thin margins where the defense goes out there and hold the other team to 17 or 20 points, and then at the end of the game they're like, "Nah, we didn't do enough." Come on, man. I feel so bad for that defensive unit.
Demario Davis is at the heart of it, dealing with some injuries at this point. If he doesn't go, what does that level of the defense look like?
Well, the guess is that at some point in the next couple hours here, we're going to see that Jalen Smith is being elevated off of IR.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not off IR, off the practice squad, and he'll be available in case Demario can't go. So they're legitimately making this a game time decision. See how we can react in pregame warmups. If he can't go, which is a distinct possibility, it might be the first time he missed a game ever in a dozen years as an NFL player because of injury. I would fully expect Jalen Smith to slide into that middle linebacker role. Whenever they're in that kind of dime look where they have one linebacker on the field, I'd expect Pete Werner on the field there. I just don't think that we're going to see Zach Bond be playing a ton more snaps than I feel like he'll just stick in his kind of strong side linebacker role where he'll play 10, 12 snaps in their base defense. But the majority of the time, if Demario can't play, we'll see Pete Werner and Jalen Smith.
Luke, enjoy the game tonight. We'll do it again next week. Thanks, man.
Yep, sounds good.
Luke Johnson with The Advocate, Saints beat writer with us every Thursday. I mean, he kind of painted that picture, and I'm going to break this game down and give my pick later on in the show. And look, I certainly give the Saints a real chance to win tonight. I don't want to make it sound like they have no chance, but they got no chance to score 30 points, which they don't do anyway. But that offensive line is in a bad way right now, and that's just not a good place to start for an offense that hadn't found its footing. So we'll see. Jacksonville may not have their quarterback, so it just depends on what defense shows up and plays the best and probably takes the game over as to who's going to win tonight inside the Dome. We'll break it down a little bit later. All right, when we come back, let's get back to some LSU football. Some players who met with the media yesterday, and we'll hear what they had to say coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Speaking of Saints and Jags, get ready to start the NFL week off right. Right now, all customers get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football. Place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game, Jags, and you're black and gold, and you'll get bonus bets back even if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the best way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. So you can build your own, or you can go in and choose one of the popular same-game parlays that are pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Just visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN. That's how you know that we sent you there. FanDuel.com/1045 ESPN so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues, knowledgeable bonus. Bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
Week 8 in the prep football season, and we get you started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by Brock. Catholic High and Woodlawn kick off at 7, and it's immediately followed by Louisiana Prep Scoreboard presented by Lake Urgent Care. On YouTube, Your View and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Love the folks over at Rouse's. Look, my dinner plans tonight are not super fun. We're doing zucchini boats that are like mini lasagna, but with ground turkey instead of beef. We're going low carb. We're trying to do good cholesterol stuff. It's not super exciting, but your dinner can be better than that. Get by Rouse's and get your dinner for tonight and for your Saints watch parties. Put some steaks on the grill tonight. Rouse's has some great ribeyes, great fillets back there. Got your New York strips as well. You want something simple or like a burger or something a little more lean like your chicken. They've got all that at Rouse's. They've got all your food, all your beverages that you need. And you can download the Rouse's app and make things real easy on yourself. Like you can leave work, already have your shopping done digitally, tell your personal shopper to go get it done. They'll bring it right out to you curbside. As long as you spend $35, it is not an extra dollar out of your pocket for the curbside pickup. If you spend $100 and use the code SAINTS20, you get $20 off your groceries. So get on by Rouse's. There are dozens of them across South Louisiana where you go home and watch the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. All right, return to the lineup last weekend for Omar Spates, inside linebacker. He had missed a couple of weeks with the hip flexor issue, and just wasn't feeling himself. So they gave him a couple weeks off, but he returned in the Auburn game, led LSU in tackles with 8, and met with the media yesterday, said it was good to be back out there.
It just felt good to be back out there, playing again with my brothers. It just took a long time for me to get back. I wasn't used to being out, but that first game back, it was just fun being out there.
And look, he was noticeably hampered by that hip flexor and couldn't move the way that he's used to. By now, you probably know this because you've heard a bunch of times that he was an all Pac-12 linebacker, but we're talking about a guy that made 83 stops last year and 87 stops the year before that. He was never a guy that spent a ton of time in the backfield, but he was always a guy that was there for a lot of tackles. And he made 1 against Grambling, made 4 against Ole Miss, and they were out there for plenty of plays against Ole Miss, trust me. And he wasn't himself and needed to sit a little bit, and it showed us that West Weeks has a lot of talent. He's stepped in. He's made some flash plays, and I think a lot of people feel like, myself included, he's got a really bright future here at LSU. But I think there's a reason why Spates was the primary player on Saturday. I think the staff realizes that he's in position more often. He's more likely to make the run fit properly and to get the guy on the ground. Can he run like West Weeks or Whit Weeks? No, he can't. Does he have the upside or the size? No, he doesn't. But he's a veteran, and he's made a lot of tackles playing in a good league over in the Pac-12, playing college football. So I think the staff values his veteran leadership on the field. And the last time he was on the field was when LSU played their worst defensive game in the history of the school, obviously. You gave up, let me check my notes here, 9 million yards against Ole Miss and 62,000 points. It was atrocious. And since then, Spates has watched his team not play great against Missouri and, obviously was out there in a strong effort against Auburn. And he's talked about how much better the defense has gotten over the course of the last 3 weeks.
I think it's a lot better. I think we're communicating better, playing off each other better, bringing a lot more intensity, being way more physical, tackling better. We've been taking strides, and I think we still trying to keep on building so that we could be that much better each and every week.
And I think Spates, his presence is not just a guy that can make tackles. We feel like that's one of his strengths, but he also brings a guy who was playing college football and made 71 tackles in 2019. I think you all remember 2019, remember where you were, what you were doing watching football. Spates was out there making 71 tackles that year. He's played a ton. Harold Perkins has not played inside linebacker a ton. Whit Weeks has not played inside linebacker a ton. Now, Greg Penn's a veteran, but Spates is also a veteran presence, and he spoke about him being able to kind of bring these young guys along.
Just being there for them guys, like if they have any questions, like Whit, hell of a player, he gonna be great, but he just young, but you can't even really tell that because he'd be out there making plays. But anytime he got questions or anything like that, I help him out and stuff like that. If he got problems with a fit or anything like that, I'm helping him. But they doing their thing for the most part. We just all helping each other for real.
There's definitely value in that when you're talking about an older player helping a younger player. Of course, they've all got to be coached, but there's something to be said for being the guy that's in there and has done this and understands how things work. And you've got a young talent that's like Whit Weeks, and you want to get him on the field. It helps when he's got somebody there that can help him along the way. And Brian Kelly spoke to that on the teleconference yesterday.
He's a really solid run-fit defender. He is experienced, and I think the thing that Whit brings is athleticism, and he can flat out run. But there's no substitute for experience and seeing plays the way Omar sees them and fitting them the way they need to be fit. And so that's the difference between the two linebackers right now. And so we lean towards having a little bit more experience on the field right now as Whit continues to grow and learn the position.
My contention is, as we try to look at ways to help this LSU defense, I wouldn't say fix the LSU defense, but help the LSU defense. The quickest way to do that would be for them to become more proficient against the run. I just think you're limited in the secondary. That's the way I've felt since August. It's the way I feel now. I don't know that you're fully limited up front. They haven't played well, but I don't know that they can't play significantly better. And Ole Miss might throw for 389 on you, but please don't let them run for 317. If you let them run for 317, which they did, then what can go wrong if you run like that? I mean, I guess you could fumble, but at least if you force a team to throw, you can get a sack, you can tip a ball, you guys can go make a play. You just let them turn around and hand it off for 317 yards, well, then you just got no chance to get a stop. The 389 is just gravy on the top of it. Missouri ran the ball better on LSU than I certainly would have liked. I mean, I looked at that running attack and I was like, well, Cook is a decent athlete, but he's not awesome. And then I look at running back and I see a D2 transfer who's got average traits, and I'm like, LSU should be able to pose a little bit of resistance against the run up in Columbia. And quite frankly, they really didn't. You had a running back go north of 100 yards. You had the team at Missouri go for almost 6 yards a carry. That, I think, is more fixable in my eye, or helpable in my eye, however you want to describe it, than your secondary, which just isn't that great. And quite frankly, I'm going to take my chances with Jalen Milroe and Graham Mertz and Max Johnson cooking me up, as opposed to Milroe turning around and running it, Florida handing it to Etienne and Johnson and letting them run it like they did all over Tennessee, A&M handing it to Le'Veon Moss and pounding away and then going to play action like Jimbo wants. If Spates helps with that and Weeks comes along and Smith gets healthier and you just show some resistance against the run, then maybe you give up some pass yards, but that goes back to the point of like, hey, we're going to score some points too. So if you give up some pass yards, not the end of the world. That's my hope, at least. This is a week of hope, and next week's a week of hope, and then you lock in from our side and you get ready for Bama, right? But, LSU was decent against the run against Auburn. Auburn still ran for 138 yards, 139 yards, but their long run was 16 yards, which you can absolutely live with, and they only ran for 4 yards a carry. Jarquez Hunter ran it 70 times for 16 yards, 7 times for 16 yards. Brian Batty, their other running back, ran it 6 times for 20 yards. So that's my hope, at least. I look at the linebacker core. Spates gets healthy. Weeks comes along. You look up front. Wingo gets healthy. Smith gets healthy. Maybe Deshaun Womack kind of emerges a little bit, and we'll talk about him tomorrow. But that's my hope, at least. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think, man, I think this secondary, I think they got it figured out. I think they're coming along. What did Auburn throw for? 154. I think, hey, look, we'll look back on Army's performance and we'll probably go, they held them to 80 yards passing, great. But you'll know there's too much writing on the wall there with the way Jordan Travis threw it, with the way Brady Cook threw it, with the way Jackson Dart threw it. You kind of know. I feel like there's a chance that LSU can pose some resistance on the run. That's my hope, at least, and hopefully Omar Spates helps them out with some of that. Still plenty to do on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Rouse's. Chris Blair is going to be with us at 2:15. I've got my final breakdown of the Saints and Jags, my pick on that game coming up at 2:30. We'll, of course, play some Take It or Leave It at the end of the show, and we'll do best win and worst loss in college football and the NFL, plus my Survivor pick. We're getting to where things are going to be a little tough, so I'll give my pick to back coming up at 1:45. We only got to get 3 more weeks to get to week 9. We'll see if I can figure one out this week. So come back with us to close out hour number 1 next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, champion of Louisiana, right here from Baton Rouge. Highlighted businesses and people from all over the state, but Marucci happens to be right here in the capital city. That's where they were founded, and that's where they're bringing talent. They're bringing talent here to work in their baseball performance lab because they're one of the top outfitters of equipment in Major League Baseball and college baseball. And it's not just that they're a great company. It's that they're bringing talent in, they're keeping talent here, and they're a tourism boom for the city of Baton Rouge and the state of Louisiana for their Marucci World Series each and every July, bringing thousands of people here to the Baton Rouge area. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, person, business, nonprofit, whatever it may be, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana so that LWCC can help tell their story through us, their Champions of Louisiana campaign. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The best. This Sunday, we bring you 3 different NFL games, starting with our noon kickoff Lions at Ravens. Then immediately following that, we have the Chargers and Chiefs, and then our nightcap, the Miami Dolphins at the Philadelphia Eagles. Tune in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1 here. We do it every single week. Best win in college football in the NFL, worst loss in the top 25 college football in the NFL. Best win in college football this week. I wanted to say Tennessee. They're going to Tuscaloosa. They got that monkey off their back last year, and I wanted to say that, but it's not. It's Penn State. Penn State's won 1 of their last 11 against Ohio State. Ohio State looks to be mediocre, a little above average at quarterback at this point, and Penn State may have a really, really good quarterback. We haven't seen Penn State play anybody yet, so we don't know. But I think Drew Aller is really good, and I think they've got a real chance to win that game in the shoe. That's the best win on the board. Penn State is one of the teams in college football, like Tennessee, that has the ability to win a conference championship, win a national championship. They have the ability to get that kind of talent, to pay those kind of coaches, and get that kind of result. And they're one of the teams that hasn't broken through in a very, very long time. So both huge spots for both programs, but Penn State being undefeated, having this opportunity against Ohio State to win on the road, I think Penn State is the best win in college football on the board this week. The worst loss, I looked at this one a few different ways, but I come back to one, and it's a team that was on the biggest stage last week and faltered. But they're not toast, and that's Oregon. But you are toast if you come back and lose to Washington State, okay? You can't compound a loss in Seattle and then come back and lose to the folks from the Palouse, okay? That can't happen. So that would be the worst loss in the top 25. Oregon turning one loss into two and essentially eliminating itself from the playoffs with a quarterback who's playing at a tremendously high level. I don't want to sit here and tell you that I know that 2 losses rules you out, because LSU can still go to Tuscaloosa and win and beat Atlanta in Georgia and beat Georgia in Atlanta, I should say. And so there's a possibility there depending on what happens the rest of the way in college football, but Oregon would be in a bad way if they lost the game to Washington State. Best win in the NFL for me this week would be the Dolphins going to Philly and beating a mad Eagles team. The Eagles kind of gave one away last week, and the Dolphins are certainly good enough to go there and win. I considered this as my survivor pick, but I did not. This would be a great win for Miami, though, if they could go up to Philly, beat Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, and really cement themselves as maybe the best team in the NFL. Reasonable, maybe. Look at San Francisco, you look at Miami, look at Philly. Who knows? But I think the Dolphins going to Philadelphia would be the best win in the NFL. The worst loss to me, and this is crazy to say, but that's Buffalo losing to the Patriots in Foxborough. I mean, we would have thought you would have never said that, but that's kind of where we are. I think there's a chance the Patriots are the worst team in the league, and the Bills and Dolphins are tied in the division, and the Dolphins are going to Philly, and you got to think there's a real chance they could lose that game. If you're Buffalo, don't stub your toe in Foxborough. That's been a house of horrors for you for a very, very long time. Josh Allen's kind of bucked that a little bit, and you've won there a little bit. Got to keep your foot down. Don't let yourself get tripped up in Foxborough if you're Buffalo. So best win on the board in college football, Penn State at Ohio State. Best win in the NFL, the Dolphins going to Philly and beating a mad Eagles team. Worst loss in college football would be Oregon. That would be a tough, tough loss after you lost to Washington to lose to Washington State, who can score. And then worst loss in the NFL would be the Bills going to Foxborough. That's best win and worst loss. My survivor pick. I gave this a lot of thought, and we've reached a point where things are a little tough. I've used a lot of really good teams. I've used the Ravens. I've used the Bills. I've used the Chiefs. I've used the 49ers. I used the Lions. I've used the Dolphins. So that's really the elite in the NFL for the most part. Not all, but for the most part. So as I looked through the NFL schedule, I thought hard about taking the Eagles in a bounce back spot, but again, they're playing the Dolphins, so I didn't want to do that. I'm taking Seattle. They're at home. They're playing the Cardinals, and the Cardinals were thought to be tanking. Their record is terrible. They look on paper like a disaster, but then you look a little bit more closely and they're in most games. Do I want Josh Dobbs leading my franchise? I do not. However, he's been okay, and I don't feel great about Seattle, but they are at home. They're better than the Cardinals, and I've taken a lot of the really good teams in the NFL, so I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Beck, how do you feel about my prospects of getting through this week 7 with Seattle at home against the Cardinals? I'm just trying to get to week 9 here.
I feel pretty good about that because the Seahawks are better than the Cardinals.
That's why we have you with a microphone.
Yes.
So you can give us unbelievable analysis like that. Just think if this show did not have a microphone in front of Beck and he couldn't give you the hard-hitting insight like that. That's why we. That's
I don't
why
know
we
what
bring
you'd do without me, honestly.
We wouldn't be on YouTube. We'd just be talking to a microphone, and people just have to access us from the car. Or
Yep.
Google, Spotify, any of those places where you catch us on demand. That's it for hour number 1. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's. Get on by and do your Saints grocery shopping at Rouse's. They are the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. In hour number 1, I talked about Army's offense and what you can expect. It's not what you would think it would be. It's not what it's been for the last, how long they've been running the option, but it's been a long time. It doesn't look like that. I gave you some looks into what you're going to see. You can find that video up at Hunt on LSU later. Luke Johnson previewed the black and gold because they play Jacksonville tonight on Thursday Night Football. So Luke was good enough to be with us before he heads to the Dome. Had some audio from Omar Spates as he continues to recover from his injury and help out LSU's defense. And that was best win, worst loss at the end of hour number 1. Catch all of that on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, anywhere you find your audio. Chris Blair is going to be with us at 2:15. Still got to make my pick on the Saints and Jags as well. Hope your Thursday's going awesome. Come back with us after Sports Center on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is that website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years in the business, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Get that free consultation today. It doesn't cost you anything. And he can come in and say, hey, we can do a full-scale bathroom renovation for you. Completely turn this place upside down, make it look brand spanking new. Maybe that's what you need or want. Maybe it's just something as simple as a tub-to-shower conversion. And he can come in, pull that bathtub out that you never use. You don't have 2-year-old Myers jumping all over the bathroom, splashing, throwing stuff everywhere. You don't use the bathtub. You can use a walk-in shower. They can do that for you as well over at One Bath and Closets. On the closet side of things, if you're cluttered and you just got way too much going on, let them come in and customize a closet to your exact needs. Consultation's free. Just got to see their great work, the testimonials, and request that consultation at their website, onebathandclosets.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The NLCS moves to Phoenix today for Game 3. The Phillies lead the Diamondbacks 2-0. Arizona manager Torey Lovullo moves Gabby Moreno to the third spot in the order. Tommy Pham drops to the 5-hole. Emmanuel Rivera will start at third. Evan Longoria is the DH. Our ESPN radio coverage starts at 4:30 Eastern. Then at 7:30 Eastern, it's Game 4 of the ALCS. The Rangers leading the Astros 2-1. ESPN's Carl Ravitch on young Texas outfielder Evan Carter.
He was a valedictorian of his high school. He was going to Duke to be a dentist, and he figured out I can make a little bit more money instead of filling crowns by chasing triple crowns, which he may end up doing in his career.
Carl Ravitch on game night. Carl calls Game 3 of the ALCS tonight on ESPN Radio. NFL Week 7 kicks off tonight in New Orleans. The Saints hosting the Jaguars. Our Ed Werder reports Doug Peterson expects quarterback Trevor Lawrence to start, barring any setbacks with his knee.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Friday, I'll tell you what I need to see from my Ravens before I say they're Super Bowl contenders. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 on a Thursday. Working towards the weekend, working towards kickoff. Saints and Jags tonight in 5 hours and 13 minutes or so. I'll give you my pick on that one coming up at 2:30. The voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, going to be with us in 15 minutes. We'll talk about his podcast this week, Hearing Voices, with the voice of the Army Black Knights, and get you ready for the Brian Kelly Show tonight from TJ Ribbs. Should be a fun crowd in there. I'm sure they'll have the Saints game on. Brian Kelly always in a good mood, and it's always a good time over there at TJ Ribbs. Reminder, that's going to be on 100.7 the Tigers tonight as opposed to Eagle 98.1. So big night tonight, and certainly a big night inside Tiger Stadium, because we only get so few of them coming up on Saturday night. And I wanted to let you hear some sound from Malik Neighbors from yesterday. He's been just remarkable this year in terms of his consistency. Did have 67 yards on 6 catches against Florida State. Had a touchdown and 87 yards against Grambling. Of course, he just exploded in Starkville against Mississippi State, 239 yards receiving, and that started a streak of 4 straight games with over 100 yards receiving. He didn't have over 100 yards on Saturday night, had 89, but he did have a touchdown, and got LSU on the board with that great play that he made down the left sideline for the first touchdown of the game. He's just been sensational, leads the nation in receiving yards, and is putting himself in the elite company of great wide receivers of the past from LSU, absolutely. And he talked about the first question we're going to hear from is, while he's having this incredible year, statistically speaking, and is going to be up for the Blitnikoff and could be a very, very high draft pick, having a quarterback that is also up for some awards like the Heisman.
He continues to come here at 5:30 in the morning, watch film, try to focus on things to get better on, always, putting in work after practice with us as a receiver group. And just the little things that he does, throughout the week is just progressing like when he's on the field. It's something that he came into this year, wanting to focus on was winning the Heisman, and, his stuff that he's been producing for him to be running up for the Heisman is pretty good showing.
And Malik's a big part of that. I don't have any problem with Jaden Daniels coming out and saying, hey, I'd really like to win the Heisman. I think that's very, very cool to have some individual goals that you like to attain. Of course, you're not going to win the Heisman if you throw 3 interceptions a game and your team loses 6 games. You know that. You got to play exceptional football. So I don't think there's anything wrong with coming in and wanting to win the Heisman. If that's what gets you up and gets you the film room at 5:30 and gets you in the weight room and gets you to practice and makes you execute the way that he's executing right now, like, I don't have any problem with that. But Malik Neighbors has been pretty good as well, and better than he's been early in his LSU career, which was quite good. I'm not great at going to practice and pointing to players running around cones and hitting sleds and doing things like that and going, oh, you really need to watch out for this guy. You don't often hear me come on and break down high school players' football tape and tell you exactly what it's going to be. Sometimes I do because it's the content that you're looking for in August, and that's all we really have is, hey, here's some video. But it's certainly not something that I would purport to be a specialist at or an expert at or anything like that. But I have been able to identify LSU's really good wide receivers in the recent past early on in practices. When they do some things athletically and make some plays with their hands in the practice we're able to see, you can see that pretty quick. I saw it with Jamar Chase. I saw it with Jarvis Landry. And I saw it with Malik Neighbors. And remember, he came in with that class of Brian Thomas and Chris Hilton and Deion Smith and Jack Besh. And, like, you could have gotten lost in the shuffle. It wasn't like one of those guys was a 5-star and the rest were 3 stars and somebody was popping out. Those guys were all kind of highly thought of players, very productive in high school, came in, and all of a sudden you look up and Jack Besh is gone and Deion Smith is gone and Malik Neighbors has kind of asserted himself to the top of that list. And he was asked kind of what has made you a better player.
I would say I elevated my game of being more explosive. A lot of people ask me, what I was focused on and going into the season was to be more explosive, like, in the first 4 games that I've been having, first, 7 games, 6 games that we didn't have, I didn't become more explosive and being that receiver that, is a go-to receiver right now.
Explosive might be an understatement. He's exceptionally explosive. That's evident in the big plays that he has made, whether it's catch and run like it was against Auburn, or just making a play up over the top like it was against Mississippi State on 2 of those balls into the corner of the end zone. He doesn't stand out in terms of his physical size like Dwayne Bowe would. He doesn't stand out even like Michael Clayton did. But neither did Jarvis Landry, neither did Jamar Chase. It's not like they're undersized, but they're just not those big. He's not Calvin Johnson out there. He's 6 feet, 200 pounds. He looks like Jarvis Landry or Odell Beckham. He looks like Early Doucette. Looks like Jamar Chase. Jets is a little bit taller than that, but he is just really, really good at controlling his body, manipulating his speed, creating space, and he's got great hands and a great ability to leap and go catch the football. He is wildly explosive, but it doesn't ever come together fully for a wide receiver unless there's somebody else on the other side. And Malik Neighbors talked about the development of Brian Thomas opposite him.
Tremendous leader. He's been helping me, especially with that receiver room since we so young. Me and him only a junior. We had a lot of seniors last year. So, just me and him being on the same page, I'm going to see a lot of double coverages. So, having him on the other side of me is a confident boost for him, knowing he's going to get the ball also on side me and just, getting everybody going just also as Kyron.
And he mentioned Kyron Lacey there, and that would be the third guy if they could find that. I wondered coming into the year, I figured Neighbors and Thomas were the top 2, but then you start to look at, well, who could be the third guy? Is it Chris Hilton returning from injury with his speed and playmaking ability, and can he stay healthy? And unfortunately, he hasn't stayed completely healthy. Is it potentially Kyron Lacey? Is it potentially one of these young freshmen that comes in, whether it's Kyle Parker, who was very highly thought of, Jalen Brown, who's got elite speed? Was it Shelton Sampson, the 5-star from Catholic? Does he come in and find some playing time? Maybe Landon Ibieta finds his way to the playing field. And it became pretty evident pretty quick in camp that it was going to be Kyron Lacey, who had a big drop in the first one. We know that. And he had a big drop in the game on Saturday night against Auburn. But he came back and persevered through it and had a couple of really big plays. And Neighbors talked about the development of Kyron Lacey.
Early on, he had a pretty good, I believe it was a dig route over the middle that he caught, and then he came back. Jaden threw him another ball, and then he dropped it. He kind of got in his head a lot. But, I stayed on him. When we got on the sideline, I told him, I would throw the ball to you again. I was just expecting you to make it, the next time that it comes to you. So he told me on the sideline, next time I touch the ball, I'm going to do something special with it. So, the next time he caught the ball, he did something special with it up the seam. Jaden came back to him on the dig again. It showed his confidence throughout the game.
And if you can find a third guy, a la Terrace Marshall in 2019, who was really good, all of a sudden you become really difficult to deal with. I mean, you're difficult to deal with just Malik Neighbors, but it can be done. You're difficult to deal with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, but it can be done. You put 3 guys out there that are making big plays, all of a sudden you've got Chase and Jefferson and Marshall. You've got Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and Henry Ruggs. Like you've got a nightmare that teams are going to have to deal with. And when you've got a quarterback playing as confidently as Jaden Daniels is, that's kind of the whole recipe. And so Neighbors talked about, what can the offense do to even get better?
Yeah, it's a lot of improvements that we've planned on fixing throughout the week. I had a drop in the end zone. We can kind of say it was pretty back shoulder. Jaden put it on me quick, but it's a play that I have to make. And it was a lot of, different techniques that we should have did better while we was in the red zone. But we want to always score touchdowns. But, if we can get 3, it's not pretty bad.
They get touchdowns a lot. And that's going to be the key for LSU, to find a way to make sure you're cashing it in the red zone, because no one's really going to stop LSU between the 20s. You get a stop here, get a stop there, but eventually they're going to roll up. But it is easier to stop teams and make them kick a field goal. And that's what LSU's going to have to fight against when they get to Tuscaloosa, when they play Florida, when they play A&M. You got to get touchdowns. And they've done a really good job of that thus far. So we'll see what they got Saturday night at 6:30 against the Army Black Knights. Speaking of that, Chris Blair will be on the call for it, and he'll be with us next on the Jim's Firearms Hotline right here.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
No Jersey Mike's for lunch today. What a bummer. We had it yesterday. Guy Ken came over, dropped off a bag of 12 subs. They were gone in about 5 minutes, and they were fantastic. I had the club, has a delicious ham, turkey, the bacon, fantastic bread. It's a great cold sub, which kind of converted me because I'm a big fan of the hot subs. I love it when you order that cheesesteak over there at Jersey Mike's and they chop it up on the griddle for you, melt that cheese over it, or the chicken cheesesteak, bacon chicken cheesesteak. Jersey Mike's is fantastic. Go see our friends at the Highway 30 store in Gonzales near the new Heritage Shopping Center. And reminder, they've got great catering options. I just mentioned that box of 12 sandwiches that Ken brought over. You can do that for your office if you got some sort of lunch meeting, lunch and learn. They can also do individual boxed lunches that include a cookie and a bag of chips as well, or just get the cookie or brownie platter with your catering order. And if you tell the Highway 30 in Gonzales store that the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, 20% off your catering order with Jersey Mike's. Download the Jersey Mike's app. Remember that they are on DoorDash and a lot of your food delivery options. Jersey Mike's is fantastic. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The importance of
doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Army head coach Jeff Monken joins us, and it's Saints game day. We'll preview Saints and Jags. Join us for Thursday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
You just heard it there in that teaser. Matt's going to get you ready for Saints and Jags tonight. 7:15 is the kickoff. You can hear that on Eagle 98.1. What you usually hear on Thursday nights on Eagle 98.1 is the Brian Kelly Show from over there at TJ Ribs. Instead, that's going to be on 100.7 The Tiger here in Baton Rouge tonight. So plan accordingly. I know one guy who will is Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Yep, I'll be there at 7 o'clock, regardless. But looking forward to another good show. Always a great show after an LSU victory, to be sure. And not only that, a really, really solid performance, I thought, all the way around in all phases of the game. And, as excited as I was to see LSU's offense continue to just put up yards and points, I think I was most giddy, to use that term, over the defense. Going back to the second half of the Missouri game, which I think they played much better. And again, I thought, maybe Mississippi State. I don't know which team is a tougher out this season, Auburn or Mississippi State. But I think defensively, LSU played, if not their best game of the season, certainly one of the best.
What'd you like about the defense? Is there anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, I think the fact that, look, I know Auburn's not, the Auburn offense that is going to go down in history as one of the best for their program. I certainly understand that. But, we've talked about it a bunch. I think in August, I was pretty certain that the weakest part on paper for LSU was going to be their secondary, just with all the new places or new faces they'd have to plug in. But I kind of felt like, well, maybe the front seven can take some of that pressure off, because you are returning some All-Americans and some pretty talented and veteran players up front that would maybe at least offset some of that. And I thought really against Auburn, and to a certain degree against Missouri in the second half against the really good quarterback in Brady Cook, that they did contribute to the passing defense just by getting after them, chasing them down. I mean, Harold Perkins impacts the game, kind of what we were used to towards the back end of last year. We're starting to see that now. And, I think Coach Kelly, if memory serves, said there were 34 missed tackles in that loss to Ole Miss, which resulted in, massive chunks of real estate that went the Rebels' way. I mean, I think even going back and watching the game, if I were extremely picky, maybe 5 or 6 blatantly missed tackles against Auburn. Just that improvement alone, and the fact that I think this defensive front is now starting to show what, honestly, I think a lot of us thought we would see earlier in the year. So kudos to them. I wasn't sure how big an impact. Coach Kelly said it last Thursday night. This is a new defense for LSU. And I know that's kind of shocking to hear. But, again, kudos to whatever magic Pete Jenkins has got going, because if it's just a confidence boost, if it's technique, or see all the above, I can actually see it improving over the last 2 weeks, and hopefully that trend continues.
To me, it's what I led my show with today. It's like, okay, if in 2023, with the style of offense that a lot of teams are playing, if Jackson Dart's going to throw for 365 on you, that may happen, but don't let him turn around and hand it off for 337 too. If you just show some resistance on the run game and just make them a little bit more one-dimensional, you give yourself a chance, especially with the way the offense is playing. And my hope is that they're the best quarterbacks that they're going to play are in their rearview mirror, and that the run defense gets a little bit better. And that's the fight that this defense can bring.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my biggest concerns, while on paper I thought 48-18 sounded about right to me with LSU and Auburn because of the transition that Auburn is in under Coach Hugh Freeze. But I thought if there's going to be some big plays made, my big concern was it would be against a team that came into the game third in the SEC in rushing the football. And again, I take a lot of away from the game last week that for the most part that did not happen. Again, the majority of the game, LSU dominated the line of scrimmage. And kudos again to the offense, which I know we're getting a little spoiled here because they've gone 6 straight games with over 500 yards of offense. But, that's not a bad Auburn defense. And, again, I thought for the most part that offensive line imposed their will most of the night.
They absolutely did. And so now we'll turn our attention to Army and the Black Knights. I realize that you don't sit there and pore over film, but you certainly are prepared for an offense. And I learned actually 3 weeks ago that Army doesn't run the true triple option anymore, which in my opinion is a waste of a week for a college football team to have to scrap everything and learn how to deal with that. You watched it firsthand for a team that you called for a long time. But this is a little bit more traditional offense in the sense that what we do now is traditional. So I think it's another week where the defense can take a step forward, no?
No, I think it's, I said to you last week, I thought this Auburn game came at a good point for this LSU defense. I think the same thing here. I worked with Coach Jeff Monken 4 seasons, and he made a big impact on me. I think the world of Coach Monken, and he's a perfect fit for Army as a football coach. I mean, he leans into the challenges that working at a service academy, at least as a football coach, brings. And he's given them a lot of success. I mean, Army football was left dead on the ground since, I guess, mid-'90s through really most of the early 2000s until Jeff took over in 2014. And he took that traditional flexbone triple option with him that he ran as an assistant at Navy, followed Paul Johnson to Georgia Tech, then to Georgia Southern as the head coach. But the NCAA changed the rules on cut blocks, which had something to do with it. But I also think he realized that, if you can maybe take some of those option elements, run it out of the shotgun, which kind of helps you in a way because you can't cut block downfield, that maybe you can continue to find some success. Now, I've watched a ton of Army film this year just because I was interested in how different it looks from the traditional flexbone. And again, a lot of the principles are the same. You don't have slot backs and fullbacks as you did in the traditional triple option, but you do have running backs that will run the dive. They have movement prior to snap that sets up the pitch man, if you will, out there on the corner. The quarterback does a lot of running as well. I think the added weapon that they're trying to work on, which, they've struggled, let's face it, this year, is not only can you lull the defense to sleep with the dive after dive after dive and then finally hit one on the corner on a pitch, but now they're trying to integrate the passing game as well so that you can lull them to sleep and then hit one down the seam for a big pass play. But that's a work in progress. I know it's a different team because I watched Jeff Monken in 2013 attempt one pass against Florida at the Swamp, and he beat Florida 26-20. And they threw 104 times last year, 104 pass attempts in 2022 in 12 games. They've thrown 97 pass attempts through 6 games this year. So it is a little different. But make no mistake, they want to run the ball. They want to control the clock. And their best defense, as old a cliche as it is to keep Jaden Daniels and LSU's offense on the field as little as possible and limit the possessions LSU has.
Those that listen to my show know that I relish in the misery of many SEC teams. Can you paint the picture of the Swamp that day for me? I'd love to hear about it.
Oh, it was fantastic. Again, I mean, it was amazing because I was proud of Jeff and his team. But we leave the stadium, as you know, hour and a half after the game. Right. We come down the elevator there at the Swamp, and they have the statues of, I don't know, Tim Tebow and Steve Spurrier, whoever they have out there. And there were grown men and women bawling And as we were leaving with our Georgia Southern gear, they were yelling at us, "This is when we were good. You wouldn't have beat us when Tebow played." And I thought, that's the best cap to this night that I could ever imagine.
And that's actually true. Georgia Southern probably wouldn't have beaten him with Tebow,
Nope.
but they didn't have Tebow on that night, so they did. Oh, man, that's a thing of beauty. All right, Chris, we'll let you go. We appreciate a little bit of time, and enjoy TJ Roof. Should be fun out there with the Saints on tonight. Coach Kelly there. Ought to be a good environment.
Should be a great environment. Come out and join us, and I'll see you Saturday.
Sounds good. That is the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, joining us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline as he does each and every Thursday. Loves just a little shot at the Gators here or there. And it just tends to happen sometimes on these broadcasts. I want to remind you the first ever Baton Rouge Kids on the Catwalk Dreams Come True fashion show is coming up on October the 26th at the Country Club of Louisiana. Dream Kids are going to be walking the catwalk with local dignitaries as their escorts. That's Flynn Foster, Richard Condon, among others. Submission's going to include dinner and an open bar. There's also going to be live and silent auction featuring celebrity auctioneer T-Bob Hebert. You can purchase your tickets or your tables online at dctofla.com. That's dctofla.com. For those that don't know, Dreams Come True is just a fabulous Louisiana organization that does wonderful things for children fighting illness and their families. And anything that we can do, try to put some smiles on those faces over here at Guarantee Media, we certainly try to do. Y'all hear our radiothon each and every year. And I mentioned that Flynn Foster, Richard Condon, and T-Bob will be involved at this next week at Country Club of Louisiana. So if you can make it out and can buy a ticket or a table, dctofla.com is where you can do that. So we appreciate everyone's help with that. It's a fantastic cause. All right, still got a couple of orders of business left here on this Thursday. Take it or leave it is one of them. My pick for the Saints and Jaguars, along with the breakdown of the game, coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football. Place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Jags and your black and gold, and you can get bonus bets back if you don't win. You can't get a better deal than that. NFL same-game parlay is the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. So you can build your own parlay, or you can go in and get one that's pre-built for you at FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN. That's the promo code, 1045ESPN, and don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues not a bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who has a gaming problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes.
Week 8 in the prep football season, and we get you started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by Brock. Catholic High and Woodlawn kick off at 7, and it's immediately followed by Louisiana Prep Scoreboard presented by Lake Urgent Care. On YouTube, Your View and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Well, look, is it more challenging than if you have a full week of practice? Yeah, probably, but I think we attack whatever corrections we need to make, and I feel like we've had a good couple of days of practice. I think our guys are ready to play, so we just got to go out there and do it now.
That is true. You're gonna have to go out there and do it. Right now, it's Dennis Allen on the Saints and the Jags tonight from the Dome. It is Thursday Night Football. Your Saints are 3-3. Jags come in at 4-2, having won 3 in a row, including a couple over in London. Got a divisional win over Indianapolis last week. I think the biggest story in this game is the injury situation on both sides. It's Trevor Lawrence and his availability for the game, which they say Schefter's reporting he's going to give it a go in this workout before the game, and then they'll decide whether or not he's going to play. The thought is that he probably will. And then it's the Saints on the offensive line where they're just dismantled with injuries. This Jacksonville team might be the best roster on the Saints' schedule, honestly. Trevor Lawrence is, by most accounts, the best quarterback on the Saints' schedule. And he's got weapons on offense. I like when I see an NFL team that looks to me like a college all-star team. It's a bunch of guys who were great players in college. Not that NFL players weren't great in college, but I didn't know who Devontae Adams was. He was at Fresno State. I was like, oh, Travis Etienne, ACC's all-time leader in touchdowns. Got it. Calvin Ridley, yep, heard of him over in Tuscaloosa. Christian Kirk, saw him over in College Station. 5-star recruit, pretty good player. Evan Ingram, great player at Ole Miss. I know all these guys, but they've been really good. Travis Etienne leads the NFL in rushing attempts. He's 6th in yard rushing this year. Evan Ingram is 11th in the NFL in receptions overall. He's got the most among tight ends in the NFL. Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk have been a nice 1-2. Ridley's got 44 targets on the year. Kirk got 49, so they don't favor anybody. They've kind of split it between those two guys. And the Jags are top 5 in the NFL in touchdowns scored this year. That's pretty solid. Question is, how mobile is Lawrence and how effective can he be if he plays? I don't know that C.J. Beathard scares me too much if I'm a New Orleans Saints fan. The Saints defense should be able to hold up against just about anybody, and this group is included. They're 6th in the NFL in scoring defense. Question is, what is Demario Davis's health situation at this point? We don't know. He's going to try to give it a go, but his availability is very much in doubt, and he hasn't missed a game, as Luke told us in the first hour, in a dozen years in the NFL due to injury. That is nuts. So it's Pete Werner, it's Zach Bond. They've elevated, or Luke expected Jalen Smith to be elevated from the practice squad to be available should Demario Davis not be able to go. Not having him would be a pretty significant blow to this defense. But full strength with Demario Davis, with Trevor Lawrence on the other side. These are two of the top 5 or 6 offenses in the Jags case and defense in the Saints case in the NFL. But they might be a little bit compromised. And then you flip to the other side after you look at a fairly evenly matched pairing, and you look at the Saints offense against the Jags D. The Jags are the 3rd best against the run in the league, and the Saints are a bottom 5 rushing team. That doesn't bode well for the Saints' ability to run the ball with a healthy offensive line. Now you look at their actual offensive line. Ryan Ramczyk is not playing due to concussion protocol at right tackle. James Hurst is not playing in this game. So now you look, well, you say, oh, well, I guess you put Trevor Penning back at left tackle. Well, the reports are from Ed Werder and some others, yeah, Trevor Penning's not starting either. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to put Andrus Peat at left tackle and Cam Irving at right tackle and Max Garcia at left guard. Cam Irving and Max Garcia did not go through training camp with the Saints. They signed these guys off the street. Andrus Peat, it's one thing if he played a full game at his normal position inside at guard. Now you're going to send him out to play tackle where he hasn't repped a lot and hasn't been very good. That's a nightmare for a unit that's been a nightmare all year. Now, the Jags have not been a great pass rushing team outside of one guy. Josh Allen, back to the high school all-star team from Kentucky, has 7 sacks this year. Twice he's had a 3-sack game. Travon Walker was the number 1 pick in the draft. He's got 2.5 sacks. You've probably heard of Caleb Von Chason. He's got 2 sacks as well. But it hasn't been a great pass rushing team outside of Allen. The problem is the Saints' offensive line is just in shambles. I don't know another better way to say it. And if you haven't been a good running team previously and you're facing a good run defense and your entire offensive line is in shambles, like, you're going to have to lean on your pass offense and you're going to have to try to keep Derek Carr upright one way or another. And this sounds like, to me, more of this check down stuff, everything around the line of scrimmage, all this stuff that hasn't worked. Pete Carmichael has a huge, huge test on his hands in this game to try to find a way to make this offense be fairly productive. Again, we're not asking for 30 tonight, but you need to try to go get 24 to get 20 and give your defense a chance. You don't give your defense a chance when you score 9 against Tampa. They're going to have to bring a little bit more than that. Now, this is an awkward spot for the Jaguars after 2 weeks in London, come back for a home game, short week, busted up quarterback. It's an interesting spot for them as well. And we heard Sharif Ishak earlier in the week come on and say it's a must-win game. It's not a must-win game. If the Saints lose the game, they're 3-4 in a bad division. It's not a must-win game. But you can't keep giving them away on your home field. And they did that against Tampa a couple weeks ago when they couldn't score a touchdown. So you're going to have to get touchdowns in the red zone, make field goals when you try to kick them if you can get down there. And then defensively, we'll see what they've got. It's all that's left to do, I guess, is pick it.
New Orleans Saints. Final pick.
Look, I think the Dome is going to have a pretty good environment tonight. I know the cost to get in is really reasonable if you look on some of the secondhand apps. And if you're listening down in New Orleans and thinking, man, I might want to look at going to this game, you can get in for like $25. But I still think the Dome on a Thursday night with some time to go after work down to the CBD and quarter and then come in, I think it'll be a good environment. And I think that both teams will play really hard, which should be a given in the NFL. However, I think it's going to be a hellaciously ugly football game. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence can move. I know the Saints offensive line is going to be terrible, but the Saints defense is going to play well in this game, and they will hold Jacksonville down to a degree, whether it's an immobilized Trevor Lawrence or it's CJ Beathard. The question is, if I'm the Saints, like, how do I get to 20 points? The total in this game is 40. 40 is the over-under in this game. It's going to be really, really, really ugly. And I think because of that, both teams will be in this game well into the fourth quarter. I don't see either team getting away from the other because the defenses are good and the offenses have some issues. But I'm just not at a point right now where I can sit here and look at this game and look at Andrus Peat and Max Garcia and Cam Irving and go, yeah, I like the Saints to go figure this out. I don't. I got the Jaguars tonight. 17-7 is my final score. And if that happens, there will absolutely have to be changes made with the New Orleans Saints. They're not going to fire the GM and the head coach on Friday. But if you go out there in an NFL game, a couple weeks after you scored 9 at home, and last week you go on the road against a rookie quarterback and can't get it together in the fourth quarter, and then you lay an egg and score 7 like I just predicted, they're going to have to look elsewhere at offensive coordinator. That's just the way I feel about the way things feel right now. And I don't think I'm alone. In fact, I know I'm not alone because Luke came on and I asked him for a vibe check down in New Orleans, and he said it was awful. And the people were not feeling good. So the black and gold will be behind the Saints tonight. You're 3-3, and it's the middle of October. Nobody's quitting today. And even if you're 3-4, it's not the end of the world, but it feels like you need to do something on offense. I just don't see it with that offensive line. We'll see. That's my pick for the New Orleans Saints and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Baton Rouge Zydeco take the ice for the first time when they face off with the Columbus River Dragons Thursday, October the 26th. Single game tickets start at just $10, and you can get them online at RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com or through Ticketmaster. Register for a chance to win free Baton Rouge Zydeco tickets from us at 1045ESPN.com. Let's take one more time out. When we come back, we'll play Take It or Leave It and get on down the road. It's Hunt Palmer.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. That collaboration between Ochsner and MD Anderson is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the best in all the nation. Ochsner is the first and the only provider in our state that's got a fully integrated cancer program. They based it on MD Anderson's practice standards, treatment plans, protocols, specialists, researchers, and they've got groundbreaking research and innovative therapies that are going to be available on a trial basis to eligible patients. That expert care is going to be offered in 7 different locations around the state of Louisiana: New Orleans, St. Tammany, and in Baton Rouge. And Ochsner and MD Anderson are working together to certify some additional sites as we move forward in the future. If you'd like more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, we invite you to visit ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infinity Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
This Sunday, we bring you 3 different NFL games, starting with our noon kickoff Lions at Ravens. Then immediately following that, we have the Chargers and Chiefs, and then our nightcap, the Miami Dolphins at the Philadelphia Eagles. Tune in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Doesn't bring me any joy to pick 17-7 Jaguars tonight, but I just kind of feel that way. And you know what? If it is 17-7 tonight and the Saints only score 7 points, you may need some comfort food. You may need something to get a little buzz. You may need something. Rouse's has got you covered. We're going to be out at the Burbank and Lee location tomorrow. T-Ball will be out there from 3 to 5. So if you're stopping by today to get some groceries on the way to watch the Saints, or getting your weekend groceries tomorrow for tailgating out at Tiger Stadium, Rouse's can be your one-stop shop. Tailgating can be some time-consuming grocery shopping. If you don't have the time, don't want to go in there, let Rouse's Personal Shopper go in there and do it for you. Download the Rouse's app. Do all your shopping at the touch of your fingers. Set your pickup time, and you can pull right into those pickup spots. They'll bring it out curbside, and if you spend $35, which for a tailgate party will not take long, it's not going to charge you an extra cent for the curbside pickup. If you spend $100 and use the code online, Saints20, $20 off your order of over 100 yards. Rouse's brings you our Thursday shows. We finish our Thursday show with a little take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. SEC coaches voted unanimously this week to keep the SEC baseball tournament in Hoover. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. It's fine.
I'll take it.
If they wanted to send it to Houston to Minute Maid, if they wanted to send it to Memphis, if they wanted to send it to Dallas, I wouldn't throw a fit. I think the city of Hoover does a great job. I think they really like it, so I wouldn't be in a hurry to rip it away from them. Do I think that Memphis maybe offers a downtown ballpark with a little bit more to do around it and more hotel space? Maybe. But I'm okay with it. The issue the SC baseball tournament has is not necessarily the host or the city or whatever. It's rain. It's just you're playing so much baseball starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you end up playing games till 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's just a crazy scene far more often than not. They got things off without a hitch pretty much this past year, but the year before that was just a muddy nightmare. And so there are just some attractive places like Dallas and Houston that could accommodate it with a dome, and that to me makes a lot of sense. But I understand fully that the city of Hoover, Birmingham, they're so in on it. They do a really good job. I've been twice, and it's been a great experience both times. It's just that weather's a real issue in May in the South. Like it's just rain becomes a bit of an issue. So I'm fine with it.
Michigan and the rest of the Big Ten have been made aware that the Wolverines football program is under investigation for sign stealing. According to a report from Ross Dallinger and Dan Wetzel, multiple teams became aware this year that Michigan had their signs. Harbaugh is banging trash cans. Take it or leave it.
I don't know if he's doing it Astros style, and there's a few more people in the big house than there are in Minute Maid, so maybe a little tougher there. But, I mean, that's an interesting story, and it's obviously got legs because everybody's acknowledged it now. The Big Ten's acknowledged it. Michigan's acknowledged it. There apparently have been multiple teams that Michigan played this year that have realized at some point that Michigan had their signs. I don't know if this is something they're doing on the big poster board. I don't know if it's hand signals. I don't know if it's audibles. I don't know exactly what they're talking about, and there aren't very many details that are emerging out of this story. But, you know, obviously their defense has been unbelievable. They're not allowing anybody to score 10 points, and that's tough to do this day and age. It's probably easier to do if you know what play is coming. It brings me back to a 5th grade football game that I played. Our team had 12 guys on it, in 5th grade. So one guy would sit out, and we were the worst team in the league by a long shot. But we did find out, based on watching a team play before us a couple of times, that they had one guy who was their lead blocker on every play. So we lost every game that year except for one. Our preparation was to follow that kid on every play. All 11 of us went towards that kid on every play, and we stopped them for most of the game. They only scored 7 points against us. Of course, we didn't score, but they only scored 7 against us. It feels like that's what Michigan was doing. If they had all the signals, knew what they were doing, it's pretty easy to stop these plays. So I'm curious to see what comes out of this. My gut tells me the NCAA isn't involved in an investigation, so no one's going to get punished at all. That's my guess, but it's interesting.
Yeah, apparently the problem wasn't that they're sign stealing, which isn't against rules. It's that they had in-person scouting for a possible attempts at trying to get play calling signs. So apparently they had people
at practices.
I don't know if they had
stuff?
people at practices or if they had people at other games. I'm not sure, but apparently the problem is that they were in-person scouting, which is against the rules.
Cheating Wolverines. Free up a playoff spot. LSU will take it.
The human joystick, Dante Hall, going to the Chiefs' Ring of Honor this weekend. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I'm sure that they've accurately assessed his career. I never thought of Dante Hall as like an all-time great in terms of like longevity. When I think of Dante Hall, I think of like a really short window of great kick returning. I don't know how long he played in the NFL. His punt return highlights.
He played for 7 years.
That's what I'm saying.
Or
like,
sorry, 9 years.
That's 9 years is a long career. Okay.
And he was a 2-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro.
Okay,
the Chiefs.
He was awesome. I mean, the ability to sink into your hips and change direction like that has really not been seen in the NFL. Better than Dante Hall, Barry Sanders. I can't think of anybody that comes to mind that did it better than those two. I mean, there just aren't that many guys. I mean, Devin Hester, but I thought of Devin Hester more so as like a one cut and just make you miss. Dante Hall was like sinking down and moving multiple ways, like a point guard on a crossover. You just don't see guys run punts back like that. He was nearly unique in the way that he did that. And I do that on purpose because unique means one of one. But nearly the only guy I've ever seen who did that. He was fantastic to watch. And before the Chiefs got to this era, which is certainly the most exciting in the history of the franchise with Mahomes and Reed and winning Super Bowls, which they had never done, having Dante Hall run back kicks was probably the most exciting thing that ever happened in Chiefs football. So I'll take it. That's good for him. Even though I am seeing here that he played for A&M, I didn't realize that. I revoke everything I've said. I think he should be stripped of his recognition in the Ring of Honor.
I wonder if he's in the Aggie Hall of Fame.
Who cares? You don't have to win any championships to be in that. So
That's
there you
true.
go. He could probably make it.
Last one here. The NLCS heads to Phoenix tonight for Game 3. The D-backs are getting swept. Take it or leave it.
Man, I'm tempted to take it, but no, I'll take it.
I'll take it.
The Diamondbacks deserve to be there. They played very well down the stretch. They swept the Cubs in a huge series. The rules are what they are, and they found their way into the playoffs. So I think they deserve to be there. They're not even close to the best team in the National League. The Braves were a lot better. The Dodgers were a lot better. The Phillies are a lot better. And I think the Brewers, when healthy, were a lot better. So that's kind of where we are. The Phillies have got this mystique about them right now that feels very difficult to deal with. I don't know if that carries on from Philly into Phoenix. Maybe the Diamondbacks get one there. Maybe they don't. Either way, it ain't going back to Arizona for 6 and 7. They might get one somewhere, but that's going to be it.
Yeah, and apparently the Diamondbacks fan base is a little bit comparable to the who is the Florida team? Oh my gosh.
The Marlins?
Yeah, no, not the Marlins. The Devil Rays.
Oh, the Rays.
Apparently they have a similar fan base because you can get tickets as low as $17 for the game tonight.
It's a transplant town. It's just a huge market. A lot of people have moved there, and like it just can't. Not a lot of passion there for the D-backs. $17. That's a little bit surprising. Yeah, it'll be a totally different environment. I don't expect much for the Diamondbacks. They might get one because they are a reasonable team, but the Phillies are just on another planet right now. So that'll do it for us here on this Thursday edition presented by Rouse's. Again, T-Ball will be at Rouse's Burbank and Lee tomorrow from 3 to 5 doing the remote out there. So get by, get some cups, hats, shirts, and of course, gift cards, $104.05, 50 cents. That's a great deal that we got over there at Rouse's. If you stop by and see T-Bob tomorrow, and might have to do something for the tickets. Sometimes he gives you a keyword or got to spin the wheel or whatnot. But he'll be there from 3 to 5 tomorrow at Rouse's. So very much looking forward to that. Remember, change of plans on the broadcast networks tonight. If you're looking for the Saints, as always, you can find them on Eagle 98.1. We'll have that game broadcast to you live. If you're looking for the Brian Kelly Show over at TJ Ribs, you can find that on 100.7 The Tiger as the head coach of the Tigers gets ready for Auburn. That's what we're going to do tomorrow for Auburn Army. That's what we'll do tomorrow on a Football Friday. We'll react to the Saints and Jags, and we'll chat with Preston Guy from TigerBait.com about LSU and Army and get you ready for that one on Saturday night in Death Valley. If you want to catch today's show on demand, you can do so. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. All our shows there, OTB, Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer Show, AFR. You can find all of that on demand. Also, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, anywhere you find your podcast, you can find all of this. I broke down the Army offense at 1 o'clock, kind of talked about what you can expect to see and what I think it means for this LSU defense, more importantly, to have a week like this. You can find that at Hunt on LSU on YouTube as well. Luke Johnson with us talking Saints. Didn't paint a very rosy picture for the black and gold at 1:15. Omar Spates talked with us at 1:30. We heard sound from him. Best win and worst loss in college football in the NFL in Hour 1. We heard some Malik Neighbors in Hour 2, as well as the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. That'll do it for us here on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Matt's going to drive you home from Mockler Beverage. They're going to have some fun out there watching the Hoodats tonight play the Jaguars. We're reacting to it tomorrow. Enjoy your Thursday evening. See you for a Football Friday on the Hunt Palmer Show.